So this is called America Swimming Pool Company. So it's ASP for short. They were founded in 2002 out of Macon, Georgia. Macon's south of Atlanta by maybe an hour and a half or so. Started franchising in 2006. Their parent company is Authority Brands. So parent company, umbrella company, however you want to say it. Authority Brands has maybe 12 to 15 different home services franchises underneath its umbrella, and ASP is one of them. So they're pretty well established. They have 375 franchise units throughout the country. Total investment's pretty reasonable for this one, between 84,000 and 207,000. Actually helped someone buy this in Austin, Texas, a couple years ago, and actually went to Discovery Day with the client just to experience it, and was impressed with their team. They've got some good systems in place and support for sure. But what ASP does is they provide they do both residential and commercial pools, and they do pool cleaning, which is 40% of their total revenue. Equipment replacement and repair, which is like, let's say your pump goes to shit and you have to replace it, that's 40%. And then pool renovations, so those are like bigger projects, is only 20%. A lot of what you see is a lot of local companies will focus more on like new pool installation and those bigger projects that take several months to complete. And there's a lot of very fragmented, like, chuck in a truck type of companies that do this side of it, the cleaning side. So depending on your market, where Tarek is in Florida, it's probably very saturated with pool companies, I imagine. But in some markets, like where I live in Nebraska, it's very, very hard to find anyone who's going to clean your pool. So kind of depends. And I know they do say that a lot of their top performing markets are in northern states where, they don't really operate for a decent amount of the year, but they still do pretty high revenues because there's enough demand. So, this is one where the benefits of this franchise are its recurring revenue. You're going to have those contracts in place with both residential and commercial customers to clean their pools and do any maintenance. They have a pretty cool app where, let's say your tech is out there doing the chemicals and he sees something wrong with the pump, he can take a picture and report it to the customer and say, hey, it's going to cost this much. We can fix it next time. So that's kind of cool. And the customer can also report things back to them. The software system that they have is proprietary, and it's built by ESP, and it's really impressive. Everything from like scheduling and, invoicing. So it's really a systemized business that happens to be in like pool maintenance and repair industry. So this one, if we look at the item 19, I'm having trouble reading it. I don't know if Tarek, if you could.
Oh, let's see. Yeah. Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger. I don't think there's a ton of. Whoop. Okay. I don't think it's going to get a lot bigger than that. But all right. So let's go average first. So average gross revenue per territory, and this is where we got the this is sales, and then we'll talk about net profit in a little bit. Average gross sale for the entire system for the 121 territories that were in operation for the entire 2023. You got $829,000 in average sales. Bottom 25% does $190 on average. The third quartile does $450,000 on average in sales. Second quartile, $817,000 in sales on average. And then the top 25% of performers do $1.78 million in sales on average with the highest territory. So that's a single territory. The highest territory does $3.5 million in sales, which is pretty dang wild for something that costs less than $200,000 to get open. I mean, granted, okay, that's like a single person, but that's pretty incredible. It shows that there are over 30 territories in this data pool that are all doing over $1 million.
Yeah. And speaking of territories, I know the way they crafted, they have like a software system that they can actually see the amount of existing pools in a territory. So it needs to be 3,000 pools or more. I think last time I checked is how they build the territory, and that can be residential and commercial pools. So they don't base it on population or households or anything. It's based on pool count.
Interesting. That's fascinating. always wonder how like some of these data companies and stuff get this information and the access. I guess nowadays there's a way to figure out everything.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can you see this, or you want me to hit on it?
Oh yeah, this is average net profit per territory by quartile. So the first graph was obviously gross revenue. This is net profit. So top 25% average net profit per territory was 270,000. Second quartile, 114,000. Third quartile, 45,000, and the bottom was in the negative by 4,000 roughly. So still pretty good for per territory profit. On average per territory, 106,000 roughly. So system wide.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, not many franchisors actually like show that information.
So yeah, some benefits of this, like you have to maintain your pool or else it's going to get really nasty. So I think a lot of people try to do it themselves at the start and then they get tired of it. So then they hire a company like this, and then, it becomes stable recurring revenue that you can build upon. So as you get a certain number of customers for one tech, then you just had another tech in a van or a truck, whatever it may be, and you just keep scaling from there. You can operate out of a single small warehouse. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. So, it is something that you can scale. They do very targeted marketing, so they get the addresses of all those pools, which is cool. So that's nice. And then they do the training was pretty impressive. They actually have a whole indoor facility that has a bunch of like little pools and pumps and stuff like that, with which they hold their training. So
wow,
yeah, it was huge. It was like a kind of like a dome almost, but yeah, they have a good setup there in Macon. It's south of Atlanta, so it's kind of off the beaten path a little bit, but it's a cool little town.
interesting. Yeah, I was just talking to a franchise owner the other day, and they were saying they had owned multiple brands, and they said one of the brands they had bought, they had regretted that they bought it, and said that the training was just terrible. That it was just like really, really bad in a specific niche, and like they left confused, other owners left confused, and so and that was in like the painting niche, and I was like, oh man, that sucks because there's so many great painting franchises. So just shows you the importance of like the training and support. And I think that's crazy that you actually went to like the discovery day. Like there's not many, brokers out there, consultants that would actually do that.
Yeah. I knew he was a former coworker of mine, and I just was interested in learning, and but it's a good experience. I mean, they had a couple guys that were like mainly their operations training guys, and these guys were just like awesome. And they're like, we like to be out in the field, and they would actually go. So after a franchisee goes through training at corporate, and then they start getting their business launched, they send these guys out two 1 week periods, one right away, and then one like a few months into their business, which I think is really cool to do that type of support in the field. So I like this one. I think it does. The only caveat I would say is it does take a while to build up. Like you need a lot of customers because it's a lower, it's kind of like a cleaning company, like a residential cleaning company. It's very similar. So you need a higher volume. So, and that can take a while to build up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Unless you get some of the big repair jobs. Oh man, I remember when like our heater went, when we lived in California, like our heater went out in our pool. I mean, I think it was like thousands of dollars to replace, and like some of that equipment can get expensive. And if you got kids and they're driving you crazy in the house, like you may not want to. It becomes one of those things. It actually becomes something that could still even do well during hard times, because like, I tell you what, if you got a pool and you're used to your kids being in the pool and they're inside and they're driving you crazy, you're like, all right, screw it. I'm spending the $2,000 to repair or whatever it is.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I remember they said a lot of pool companies did amazing during COVID because people were home, they were getting antsy, wanted to do home projects, and they're like, well, we need to figure out something our kids can like entertain themselves. That was the exact feedback they got from customers. So I do think it's it's discretionary spending, so it's not for everyone, but What's nice again is they build the territories based on existing pools because they're 80% of their revenue comes from existing pools and problems and maintenance with those.
Word. Cool, y'all. Well, if you're interested in finding out, I mean, this specific opportunity, with 375 territories already established, might be tricky, but to find out if anything's available, not to find out, but if there's anything available. But you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. We can check, and there's always other concepts out there that are similar to that are in a similar space, just not with the same company. Or if you just want to find out, hey, what are some of the good quality franchises that are available in my area in different industries that match my skill set, that match my budget, that matches my financial goals, and you want to make your process easier, then go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. Have a free 15-minute call with the team, and you'll be able to walk away smarter, wiser, and maybe 6 months down the road, a franchise owner, or maybe not. And that's cool too.